Tonight's program spotlights graffiti and the continual debate. Is it urban sprawl or artistic freedom?
Graffiti writing. Graffiti. The artist play. By tagging. Art.
The laws are working. I think when we go out to catch these vandals, and they are vandals because they deface people's property, we have to do a full investigation. That means that we have to get all the evidence. Then we should go and find that person, and again, full prosecution. I just feel, it's right.
You have an art movement. You have millions of kids and adults that are making art at the risk of going to jail. There's a certain nobility in that, and there's a certain purity. It's art for art's sake.
Consider both sides of the debate. Apex, why do graffiti?
Why do graffiti? It's one of those things of our society that it's an option that's out there. We have options to do things that other people do like, people don't like, and pretty much it's just as simple as that. It's just an option of our society.
I think some graffiti is an art. I think that there's a lot of there's definitions of graffiti, different definitions of graffiti. I think tagging is not an art. Putting their name or their initials or their nickname. And graffiti that is what I think is art is something more expressionism.
Well, the human propensity to express oneself dates back to Pompeii, to Rome. Writing on walls is not necessarily limited to contemporary urbanity. Dating back literally thousands of years to cave paintings. Those were other people's walls. The concept that graffiti is not art because it's on other people's walls seems to me to be tautological and almost without meaning. If Picasso painted something on a wall, would it not be art? The institution of a state-sponsored aesthetic, which is buffed walls, to me is a far greater crime. I have a question for you. Why do you find that so offensive? A building with spray paint on it. I find a building with no spray paint on it to be, in many instances, ugly. I like spray paint on buildings.
Since its contemporary origins in the 1960s, graffiti has spread globally from the boroughs of New York to walls all around the world. Some see the proliferation of graffiti as a modern plague, an urban blight that clearly diminishes quality of life.
My biggest complaint about graffiti is that it ends up in places where it shouldn't be, and although it may seem like fun or funny or at the time, it ends up costing myself and my neighbors a lot of money.
When people deface someone's property without permission, then that's an act of vandalism.
Others argue that today's graffiti is an historically significant art form, providing a unique means of creative expression to the disenfranchised.
Each viewer's own opinion is what art is, and what's good or not is personal. That's why I think that not everything out there is good, and personally the stuff that is good to me I find is art.
John Doffing, curator and gallerist. Is graffiti art?
I think it would be hard to argue it wasn't. It has all the criteria. It's beautiful. It's aesthetically pleasing. There's a process involved in its creation. Looking at what these people create and what's on the walls, it's beautiful, it's colorful. There's a process. There's a hierarchy of of skills. The difference between someone throwing up a tag and some of the Wall of Fame stuff is phenomenal. I can't see how you can viably argue that it's not art.
Actually, graffiti has been declared as a public nuisance statewide and locally as well. So in that sense, we do need to use the law, and we do need to have consequences to abate this behavior.
Like I said from the beginning, it's an option that's out there. You have to choose to do this. And with anything, if you choose to do it, most likely you can achieve it. And a lot of people, if they choose that they're going to be doing graffiti on the street, writing on the street, and let's say there's a new law that's more strict, the people are going to try to figure out a way to get around that. Just because, just like anything that's in our culture, if you want it, you're going to get it.
So it's a very complex and nuanced issue, and I think if we try and say it's one way or the other, we're not going to have any progress in this debate.
You're listening to the Commonwealth Club's In-Forum program, and tonight we are discussing graffiti, urban scrawl, or artistic freedom. Our panelists are Apex, former street artist, Michaela Hochter with the City Attorney's Office, Benjamin Morgan, the Director of Quality of Life, Mohammed Nuru of the Graffiti Advisory Board, and John Doffing of Start Soma Gallery.
Graffiti writing.